Hello everybody, Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. I'm going to do a short video for you today. I recently created a video, shared it on a Hobbs Facebook group called People in the Attic, Hobbs, New Mexico. And that video has had around 1,700 views in just the last few days. A lot of people have watched it. And so this one, I wanted to follow up on that and with some additional information and then address some slander that I saw online, some lies that were spread about me in defense of myself. And first of all, a lot of people don't know who I am. I was born and raised in Hobbs. Okay, I was born there at Lee General, and I was class of '81. My mom and dad graduated Hobbs, New Mexico, as did my grandmother. My grandmother, when she went to high school, it was Houston Junior High. So I'm really familiar. I know a whole bunch of Hobbs people. That is my hometown. And so I just wanted everybody to know that. I live in Midland now, and I'm real happy with Midland, but I want to address this crime. Here, this video was shared many times on the People in the Attic, and so I can see that here. And I saw this one here from an Austin Scott, okay, and who writes, Cody Scott, so apparently our family is now a big part of a big conspiracy, and I really didn't even know who that was, but what I saw was some comments on there, and one was from my former mother-in-law, Ann Calloway. He's a very sick man and needs prayers. His family cannot get him help because he refuses to go. Yes, it'd be nice. And so what I did was I took print screens of that, and I'm gonna show you here of them messages right here. I blocked a lot of these people because I block anybody that slanders my name or whatever. And so here's an Austin Scott. This stuff's ridiculous. This guy named Seth Parker. I don't even know who this guy is, right? Says that dude's effing nut, okay? Here's Caleb, says wild. Paula says, oh Lord. Tiffany Wood, oh my God, this is ridiculous. And there was Ann's comments. There's one from this guy, Gerardo. Nikki Cox, Braxton Calloway. Now, I can remember when Braxton was a kid, he stayed at my home in Hobbs, New Mexico, spent the night with my girlfriend's son. They were friends, went to school together. Here's Misty Ford, says, we're going to drax them. And I had to go Google that because I didn't know what it means. And then I guess it means shoot, threaten, beat up, assault, kill, whatever. That's what I got when I Googled it. So, there was a threat. And then Ann Calloway said, yeah, it'd be nice if we drax him, and so this was slander and threats posted in the public, okay? And so that's what the title of this Facebook post is threats, slander, and censorship, okay? Some of the other ones, actually Braxton said that somebody needs to remove this. They don't want the public to see it. That's what Braxton said in them comments, And I get that all the time. It's real hard to let the public know that these crimes are going on all over the place because of the censorship. Because of the people go, oh, take this away. We don't want the public to see all them police scanner calls. He's crazy. He records calls from the police scanner, or whatever. That's how absurd it is. Anyway, I've got a little write-up I'm going to read to you. You can probably just listen to it. I think you'll find it real interesting. And then I'm gonna hit some proof pictures and videos real quick and just to show you. And basically, it's a defense of myself, because once you understand that I'm telling the truth, then you can understand that, hey, this is going on all across America. This is a conspiracy. And these crimes are happening. Okay. I'm going to start. These screenshots, which show some recent public smear to my name, along with threats against me, were in regards to a short video called People in the Attic, Hobbs, New Mexico, which I shared on the Hobbs, New Mexico Facebook group a few days ago. It's had over 1,700 views. As shown here, they're trying to get this video removed and stop the public from seeing the evidence, which is why I contacted the admin of that group. Censorship is a big reason the crimes are still happening. Here was my message to the admin. Thank you for allowing me to share my video called People in the Attic, Hobbs, New Mexico on the 411 Hobbs group. I want to assure you that everything I said is true, and here's some additional information that I think you'll find interesting, which wasn't in the short video that I posted. I wanted to share this with you because I suspected that you had people who were calling me crazy and asking for you to remove my video. Back in 2012, all I had was this crazy story of somebody under my home shooting me by surprise with burglar alarms going off in the attic, but not a lot of proof. That isn't the case anymore. Now there's absolute proof showing that I wasn't shot with my gun, which means that somebody under my home shot me. And as seen in the video posted, there's proof of almost 50 other homeowners reporting people in the attic from California to Alabama, with a dozen addresses in Midland, another dozen in Odessa, along with two addresses in Hobbs. I've also documented 2 other addresses in Carlsbad, New Mexico. Obviously, there are many more that I don't know about. In addition to that, I've also documented multiple people as saying that $1 million underground homes are near my home in Midland. Here is some of the evidence that I've collected. I secretly recorded a woman telling me that there were 4 3-bedroom $1 million homes buried at least 25 foot deep. She said they had been having pizza or pedophile parties down there. That phone call is now a YouTube video. Rhonda Denman Rogers told me that an underground facility is a half block away, and I took a screenshot of this for proof. Ricky Ronaldo told me that him and his brother used to live in my home, and they would go in the tunnels under it when they lived here. I took a screenshot of this for proof. Layla OBrien, a CAD programmer from Houston, told me that she worked on this underground safe house project, which was completed in 1987 with a budget of $7.35 million. She said it was put in for then Vice President George H.W. Bush, who is from Midland. She told me the name of the company that she worked for on another secretly recorded phone call, which is another YouTube video. Joe Lozano, who is running for Midland sheriff, was secretly recorded telling me that our last sheriff used to hide out in these underground homes. Our last sheriff, Gary Painter, had just died and was famous in Texas. And if you look up my address on Google Maps, 3802 Fair Circle, Midland, Texas, then you will see a large building in my backyard on the map screen that can't be seen from above ground. Obviously, this is one of the underground homes that I was told about. In 2010, my friend from work, Angie McGee at Hurley, told me about a young girl that was murdered at a party going on during the Permian Basin International Oil Show because she didn't want to prostitute. She was afraid to report this murder and said that high-level police were also at those parties. Angie was leaving my home and at the location of the parties in 5 minutes. I knew this because we were talking on the phone as she drove there, which can be verified with phone records. I believe that she was parking at the Midland Home Depot store, which is directly behind my home, and then going underground somewhere over there before coming back towards my home via a tunnel that could be seen from old Google Earth maps. And the parties were held in the $1 million underground homes, with one of those in my backyard. In 2013, the remains of a 14 to 21-year-old black girl was found outside of Midland, who I believe is the same girl that was murdered at the underground oil show party. There's a Crime Stoppers out for her murder, but it seems like nobody's trying to solve it. The young previous owner of my home, Mike Lawhon, died the week before the 2008 oil show started. He was 27 years old, with conflicting statements of where he died at. I believe he was killed here and then taken to his mom's house in Fort Worth so the parties could happen the following week. The week after that, I transferred here from Hobbs as a 25-year company man with DCP Midstream, and I bought this home. 2 years later, I reported my first burglary, and then a couple of months after that, I reported somebody in my attic for the first time. That was a year before I was ambushed and shot with burglar alarms going off in the attic. In July 2019, I met Homeland Security at the Home Depot store, and I showed them where I believed the tunnel was located going from there to my home. 2 weeks later, the ground was dug up and concrete was poured but I got this on video, which is also on YouTube. 3 months later, the Secretary of Homeland resigns, and 6 days later, the Secretary of Energy resigns. I suspected that multi-billion-dollar oil companies who had people at the oil show parties don't want the public to find out about the young girl that was murdered there in 2010, so they've been bribing public officials to cover it up. What is going on here is a very big deal. This criminal gang has rigged homes all across America, and besides the obvious burglary, theft, and murders, I suspect it's also connected with human trafficking and organized crime. The final thing is that I believe God saved my life and that he's doing something very big here. Thank you again, and God bless you, buddy. Well, okay. And remember, I sent that to the admin of that 911 Facebook group, And there's what Braxton said here. It'd be nice if an admin would remove this false information, And these are, recorded phone calls and print screens and police scanner calls, police reports, medical records, hard evidence proof, ballistic evidence. I mean, that's what this is. It's not my word against their word. Okay, here I'm just going to go over the pictures. I copied and pasted what I wrote down here. And then I put the pictures, and I'm going to show you here. Okay, here I said the size of pellets removed from my foot were 2.5 sizes different. This was the lab report. That was one of the shells from my guns, and that's what I'm showing. You know, it's like saying the guy with the 22 didn't shoot the guy as a hole in him with a 45. Ballistic evidence proved I wasn't shot with my gun. The size of pellets do fit are the same size as this Glazer safety slug, which is a plastic tip pellet filled bullet. And I believe that's what I was shot with. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Plastic from the wound. That's one thing I said. The doctor said he removed a lot of plastic from the wound. Well, that wouldn't happen if I shot with my shotgun, as was falsely claimed. But I believe I shot with this Glazer safety slug, which is a plastic tip pellet filled bullet. Okay, the size of pellets are match. Remember that. Okay, and I've had some people say, well, a shotgun shell has a wadding in it. But the ER doctor removed the wadding before surgery, and that was documented. Come to find out, the ER doctor turned out to be the brother-in-law of the ex-wife. I didn't know about that, their whole story on the medical side. Okay. No empty shotgun shells found. Okay, if I was shot with my gun, then there'd be an empty shotgun shell, right? I mean, that's thing. No empty shotgun shells checked in by the CSI that picked up my gun. Marty Barrett was the crime scene investigator. Said he picked up my gun at my house. Okay, and then he went and checked in the 4 live shells from it, but he didn't check in any empty shells. That was the point that I was making. Is that if I was shot with my gun, there'd be an empty shell, and in that gun, you'd have to get it out first, and it wasn't checked in. I made a big point about this in a couple years later or a while later. They come in and scribbled out one piece of evidence and hand wrote in empty shotgun shells on the evidence logs. It was just amazing. But it was just more proof I wasn't shot with my gun. We've already proved it over and over and over. Lisa Rogers told me that I was shot with a 45 handgun, and that fits the tight space requirements. Okay, so there it is. She and her exact words were, "You're not disabled with a 45." 45, you can be dead with a 45, But anyways, the point was, she's saying I shot with a 45, and guess what? Glazer safety slug makes a bullet for a 45. I believe I shot with a 45. Maybe her son knows. That's why I wondered how she knew I shot with a 45 handgun. And then when I returned from the hospital, that there was I found pictures of police on my security cameras, and but I noticed I didn't have a police report, and it took 6 years to get them identified. Ended up offering a $2,000 reward to identify these police. 6 years later, I got the names of them right here. It was amazing. The first guy that showed up was a sheriff from a whole nother county. There's a whole bunch of stories about that, and then it's also known that 5 of them police officers were at or inside my home, and they wasn't seen arriving on the security camera. I have a video link there called Irrefutable Facts, okay? And then it just shows that it looks like, it don't look like, we know for a fact police were under my home, and somebody under my home shot me by surprise, okay? In addition to that, I've also documented multiple people saying that $1 million underground homes are here. Now, that's an incredible claim, right? But it's not just Buddy saying it. This is a clip from this video from this phone call, $1 million underground homes. I'll let you listen to this here.
Pizza parties. They said they're not called pizza parties, but I know what you're talking about.
Right, the pedophile parties.
Yes.
And then I took, and see, a couple of weeks, you probably read all this before, but a couple of weeks after I got out of the hospital, that ex-wife comes by my home, and she says, "You don't know how many lives you ruined with your idiocy." And of course, my idiocy was staying home and minding my own business. I'm shot inside my home. And but what she was saying was a lot of people were here, and they're going to have their lives ruined. And
do you know about how many feet that gun pushed through?
That
ground it was, because he said that these houses are 25 feet under, at least 25 exactly.
And she had said at the beginning there, which I had it muted, what there was.
I even asked him. I asked him about the pizza party.
Here, let me stop that. Anyway, she's the one on that longer video. Their phone call, she tells me that there's 4 3-bedroom underground homes, cost over $1 million a piece. Okay. This next one here, proof of homeowners all over. And that was what the first video was about, right? I showed that in the first video and all them police scanner calls and, and told, and there's so many stories. I have a playlist on my YouTube. I have a whole bunch of videos about different homes, individual homes, whole bunch of different stories about them. And they're still coming in. I mean, I'm still getting it, I mean, it won't be every week or two somebody will contact me and go, that was happening to me, and I'll try to, document it. Here, Rhonda Denman Rogers told me the underground facility was a half block away. That's one thing for Buddy to say it, but I took a print screen of it. Law enforcement go in there and check, subpoena Facebook and verify that. There's date, time, everything. That's what she said. I said my home's sitting on top of some underground facility, which is important. She says, I know it's a half block away, and I suspect it's around the corner in this empty lot right here. I got a whole bunch of videos on this. That home had the same mortar problem my home had, has a water well, and I was told there were 4 underground homes, so I think, that was one of the other underground homes. Maybe that's where the little girl was murdered. I don't know. Ricky Ronaldo said him and his brother used to live in my home, okay? I said that, right? I've got a print screen where Ricky says, when I was a kid, there were tunnels under the house. Me and my brother would always go down there. And I'm showing you, this is Google Earth historical maps. This is my home where I was ambushed and shot right here. Okay, it's where it's believed the last homeowner was killed. Back here's where it's believed one of the underground homes is located. And if you look right here between Home Depot and my home, you can see where the ground was cut, where a tunnel was going between there and my house. And Ricky's going, yeah, when I was a kid, used to live in your house, we used to go in the tunnels, I'm going to pause this a minute. Okay, and next, remember I said that Layla OBrien, a CAD program from Houston, said that, she worked on this project. This was a print screen from Layla right here. It's $7.35 million. And I said, miles? Million. I said, on permit. She told me it was a permitted job. Cost of the project. It was called the Safe House Project. And I also recorded her. She told me the company she worked for said it was finished in 1987. It was put in for George H.W. Bush when he was vice president under Reagan. Okay, so that was a long time ago. She has all kinds of details, on this. I asked her, I said, did you have to sign any kind of non-disclosure agreement? Oh, I had to sign more stuff at that job, any job, and so, I mean, it was just more confirmation of these underground homes, but incredibly, it's put in for the Bushes, okay? And, maybe they've used that to cover up these murders. Oh, I stopped thinking we can't investigate them murders, and they just killing people right and left, one homeowner after another, Oh, can't investigate that one. Oh, like that. Oh, that's put in for the Bushes. Anyway, Joe Lozano, who was running for Midland sheriff, was secretly recorded telling me that our last sheriff used to hide out in these underground homes. Our last sheriff, Gary Painter, had just died and was famous in Texas. This is another phone call. This was for the election of... I'm going to shorten this up.
Rhonda Denman Rogers tells me that the underground facility is a half block away. And I also have a screenshot of this statement. She didn't say it was 1.5 blocks, so she knew exactly where it was at.
Buddy,
Yeah, huh?
buddy, that was Painter's hideout thing.
That was Painter's hideout. That's what he said. That was I was telling him about the underground homes and all the evidence, and he said that's where Painter's hideout. I was contacted Painter. I sent Painter 27 fact-filled emails. He never replied, but I didn't know he was hanging out in the underground home in my backyard, If you look up my address on Google Maps, 3802 Fair Circle, here's what you'll see. You can do it right now on your phone. Go to maps.google.com, put in my address, and there on the map screen in the backyard, you'll see a large building, okay? This is where I was ambushed and shot. In my backyard, you'll see that. You flip over to the satellite screen, and it's not there. Okay, you drive down the alley, you won't see it. You look out my back window, you won't see it. But if you look on the map screen, there's a large building in my backyard. Obviously, that's one of the 4 underground homes that was put in for the Bushes. Okay, I mean, I don't know how more clear that can be. Okay, in 2010, my friend from work, Angie McGee Hurley, told me about a young girl murdered at an oil show party. She was driving to that party there in 5 minutes, remember? And was talking on the phone. She drove there. Here, what I did on this print screen here was another print screen from a woman named Tisha Ann Wilkinson Brumley. She says, I've had friends and been involved in those oil show parties. They're exactly what you say. They are underground homes, okay? And that's what I'm saying. Angie was driving around as far as, I believe, parking the Home Depot parking lot, coming back in that tunnel. You could see on Google Google Earth maps, and in the underground home in the backyard, multiple people said to her, and then that little girl didn't want to prostitute, so they killed her. That's what I believe happened. Tisha went on to say, my sister used to do the also parties. I mean, there's somebody law enforcement that could talk to, and okay, here I want to show you the next one. Here, I believe this is a Google map picture talking about the same thing, just a little further out. This is my home where I'm ambushed and shot. In the backyard we seen one of the underground homes. There's a tunnel between Midland and Depot, and I believe Angie is driving around here and parking in this parking lot right here, and then coming underground and coming here. And I believe all the people also parties. And when I got out of the hospital, the ex-wife told me, you don't know how many lives you ruined with your idiocy, and that told me a lot of people were here. I believe a party was going on the night that I was shot, and that's what I think she's calling my idiocy, because I had trapped one of these burglars that was breaking in my house. I was under a home invasion. I was at Home Depot and I was telling a clerk about these crimes here, and she just blurts out, she says, if you happen to see a lot of cars in the parking lot late at night, it's because we're stalking, and I didn't ask her anything about it or nothing, but at a party for an international oil show, they need a lot of parking, and they needed an excuse, and I think that's what they're doing. Parking here, going underground here, and then here's one of the 4 underground homes. Looks like another one's over here. I think another one's over here somewhere. And but the big thing is there's a little girl that was murdered, 14 to 21 years old girl. Okay, a Midland County Sheriff Office continues investigation into set of remains found in 2013. Well, why don't they just expose the underground homes, right? I mean, there's plenty of evidence. The remains were determined to be of a woman between 14 and 21. Texas Rangers recently did DNA and figured out it was a black girl. So a little girl was murdered, and remains were found murdered in 2013. And Angie told me about a little girl that was murdered in October 2010 at the mole show parties. I believe the same girl. And and as I said, it doesn't look like anybody's trying to solve this murder, because if they were, they just expose the underground homes. There's plenty of people to talk to. I've documented lots of people saying they're here. You can see all this evidence on with Google Earth, Google Maps, etc. The young previous owner of my home, Mike Lawhon, died the week before the 2008 also started with conflicting statements where he died at. Okay, remember I read that. Okay, now just to show you that this is a guy that lived here in my home before me, and he died in October 2008, right before I was transferred to Midland as the next unsuspecting owner or victim or sucker, right? Okay. And, interestingly, the ex-wife had told me, she says, you were chosen to buy that home. And I think the reason I was chosen is because they had rigged that one in Hobbs, But here, he had 2 little boys, that's what I'm saying. 2 little boys, Mike Lawhon did. And there's a whole bunch of evidence on Mike that I found, but one, like the Odessa American, posted a death notice and said he died in Fort Worth. That was on the 14th. And then 4 days later, they posted a second death notice and changed the location of death to say he died at his residence. And that confirms what a neighbor had told me, is that Mike died in my house. So I believe Mike was murdered here, taken to Fort Worth, and it happened to be the week before the 2008 oil show started. And the reason they did that, so they could have this house for the parties in the backyard, Real clear they murdered Mike here, okay? And then here, the week after I transferred from Hobbs and bought this home, the week after Mike died, I transferred here from Hobbs, 25-year company man, bought this home. Two years later, I reported my first burglary, and then a couple months after that, I reported somebody in my attic for the first time. That was a year before I was ambushed and shot with burglar alarms going in my attic. This was November 9th, 2010 here in Midland. That was just a regular burglary. Automatically, they had complainant 1096. That's crazy is what that is, okay? Possible 1096 on my first call. Now, keep in mind, like I said, I'm a 25-year company man, a homeowner, a granddad, right? And then as soon as I report somebody inside my home, the police go, oh, he's possibly crazy, right? That's what I was saying. That's what they do. We have a police corruption problem, obviously. And that's what they're doing. My second call, a couple months later, I heard somebody in the attic of my home in 2011, January. And by that time, then it's full blown, he's crazy, okay? And that's where this started, and you can still see it. They're still spreading them life-destroying lies about me, and I'm the victim of a home invasion and capital attempted murder, okay? In July 2019, I'm at Homeland Security at the Home Depot. They're supposed to take care of human trafficking. Forcing a little girl to prostitute or be murdered, that's what they take care of, right? And then them oil show parties of forced prostitution, that's their deal, right? That's why I contacted them. So I took them to I met them at Home Depot, and I showed them where I believe that tunnel was located. The one I showed you a minute ago going to my house, right? Real easy to see. And then that's where it is, right back here. 2 weeks later, the ground is dug up. They're pouring concrete. I got that on video. It went viral. You know, here I show Homeland Security where a human trafficking murder tunnel is. 2 weeks later, they're pouring concrete. Okay. About 2 weeks after that, U.S. Congressman from Midland, Mike Conaway, announces his retirement. Couldn't find out his brother-in-law used to live across the street from my house. I wondered if that house doesn't have a tunnel under it. And then 3 months later, the Secretary of Homeland resigns. And that's Kevin McLennan, and 6 days later, Secretary of Energy resigns. I suspected that multi-billion-dollar oil companies who had people at the oil show parties don't want the public to find out about that young girl being murdered. And here, these are timestamps. Now, keep in mind here, I've got a video of them pouring concrete on July 17th. 3 months later, here's Kevin McLennan resigns as acting Homeland Security. And then 6 days later, here's Rick Perry. Rick Perry was governor of Texas when the oil show parties were going on. Okay, I was contacted Rick Perry after I was shot, and so, you can tell what I believe is happening was the oil companies where, they don't want the public, to find out, they're like, Rick, that's going to be bad for the stock prices if the public finds out that we're raping and murdering little girls in underground oil show parties, you need to pour concrete, cover that up. Rick says, I'll be right on it, and that's tampering with evidence in a capital murder, by the way. Okay, and the last thing, I didn't write this to that admin, but I added this for the video. I said, calling me crazy to cover up these crimes has been going on for a long time, and there's no doubt that somebody shooting you from under your home with burglar alarms going off is crazy. But that is exactly what happened. A lot of people don't know that because of the lies and name smearing, the doctors ordered an evaluation at the hospital, and I was cleared by mental health. I'm the crippled victim of a capital attempted murder. So anybody who smears my name in the public that knows the truth about these crimes is in violation of 18 U.S. Code 1512, tampering with a witness, victim, or an informant. They would be better off to keep their mouths shut. And that's all there is to it. If you're trying to spread lies to me to cover up capital murder, including that of a young girl, right? It's a low-life thing to do anyway. And this is showing you right from my medical records where I was cleared by mental health. And this is when I was leaving the hospital. An attempt was made to place him. They were trying to put me in a mental home, and here I'd been ambushed and shot, because we thought the police department required that he not go home. Eventually, we found out that wasn't true, and he's been cleared by mental health services, okay? So all these lies made up, I've been cleared by the doctors all along. One of the lies come from one of them secret police I paid to get identified, April Chandler. She called me a paranoid schizophrenic on a police report attached that to my name. I'd never been diagnosed with that disease. She made that up in her little criminal mind. Now, and puts it and destroyed my life with them lies to cover up a premeditated capital attempted murder. And then her partner in crime, Rosie Rodriguez, right here. I just did a video about Rosie Rodriguez. Called the hospital personally, tried to have me committed. She was a doctor, personally tried to do it. They were trying to cover up this so big, There's that tampering with the witness. And I want to show you, this is my YouTube channel. I've got almost 1 million views here and about 1,000 videos. I make them every 2 or 3 days. Buddy Webb's the channel, and that's where the one I put People in the Attic, Hobbs, Mexico, 4 days ago. That's got all the views. This one's going to be called People in the Attic, Hobbs, Mexico, Part 2. But I want to show you some of the other ones. I called for Lieutenant Dickey to tell the truth because he was inside my house at 11:05 and he wasn't seen arriving on the camera. And I know his mom, and I was telling him in this video, you're embarrassing your family, you're embarrassing the Midland Police Department. We all know the truth. You need to come tell the truth. This one's the irrefutable facts, and that ties back in to Dickey with them police officers and the timestamps, showing the timestamps when they got here and this happened at this minute, that happened that minute. Went over what was the motive for murder. Nobody's been arrested. very good secret, possibilities. And then this one's just amazing. She's one of the main out of the 11 secret police, Rosie Rodriguez, who come to find out was childhood friends with the ex-wife I'd filed divorce on 5 days earlier. That's now alleged to be involved in the shooting. That's what that's about. So, anyways, I want to share that with my friends from Hobbs, New Mexico. I believe these crimes are going on more than just the 2 houses I documented over there. They're going on all over the country, and I want everybody to pray about this. And I appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.